Okay. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Does that sound okay?
I might be able to put it down here, because up here, maybe it's. Well, that'll be in the way.
Well, maybe try it with my speaker, because then the crowd should go down.
Yeah,
Is that what you're picking all that up? I know my dad. My dad. Someplace or something. Just so much noise, restaurant or whatever. And he's trying to listen to us talk, and he's picking that up, and he's picking up all this other stuff.
Yeah, and I left it on too, but I have a controller. I can turn that sound down, so I can control that somewhat. But not when this is going. So, if you want to,
I told you were going to have sound.
I sure as hell am. It might be more. I mean, now if Tom starts speaking in the mic and having that, I might have to leave. All right, I'll put it.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Welcome to July 6th Rotary meeting. Thank you for coming, and we're going to start off with Mr. John Fink, who's alive and well, leading us in the prayer and pledge.
Thank you, President Tom. It's been a while since I've been back here. Sue and I wanted to stay away because we wanted to attend our one-year-old grandchildren's birthdays. So we've got that out of the way in June. So here I am. I'd like to welcome all Rotarians and guests. Please keep in your prayers that hopefully we'll get some rain to nourish the plants and crops this week. Please pray with me. After celebrating Independence Day, let us give thanks for our ideals, freedom, and opportunities available to us. For those who defended our country and those who protect us today. Father, we know that we are not perfect, and so we ask you for your great mercy, that you would heal our country from our differences. May we be open to sharing the blessings you have given to each of us. As Rotarians, help us to live our motto each day, service before self. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any guests or visitors?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'll introduce the program here in a minute, but with me today is Tara Fisher, who's the Vice President of the Board of Directors for Access, Annie Randolph, the Development Coordinator, who's going to be the program, and then Lieutenant Sadie Weekly is back. I told her if she keeps coming back for free lunch, She's gonna have to join the club eventually. But Sadie sits on the access board as well. So welcome, everybody.
And my guest is my wife, Jade. Now we're going to have a combination of Linda Havelka and Mary Giese. Linda's going to do the birthdays and lead us in happy birthday with Arlene playing the piano. And then Mary's going to do anniversaries.
I think Mary is going to lead us in happy birthday, right? Okay, so this month, Jody Anderson and Dr. Laura Lasik, Peggy Moeller, I see she's on, is tomorrow actually, and Nancy Wilson. John Fink has a birthday coming up on the 9th. Carol Hibbs on the 13th. Sue Martin, I see she is on, I believe. And hers is the 14th, Larry Raymond, Chris Brodeen, and George Taylor.
Mary. You're doing happy birthday. Linda,
You're leading us.
And the woman that we do better. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. And as Tom said, I get to recognize those of you who are celebrating your anniversary of membership in Rotary. When we started this, it was August last year, so this is the last batch. And I'm really glad to see that some of you are here. So Kelly and Linda and Joyce and Jeff and Dean are being recognized today. If you come forward, please. Thank you very much. Okay, first of all, we want to recognize Kelly. This is her second year of being a Rotarian. Yep. Linda, this is your third year. We'll try to connect with Joyce, who's celebrating her 19th year of membership in Rotary, as well as Jeff Vance, 19 years. And the winner this month is Dean Elder, 44 years. So I did connect with him, and he just is reluctant to walk as much as it takes to get here. So if you run into him in the community, tell him thanks for being a great Rotarian for 44 years. Thank you to all of you.
thank you, Mary and Linda. Couple of announcements. There was a membership survey that was emailed to everyone that you could do online. If you're hesitant, don't want to do it online, I've got some paper surveys you can fill in and get back to me or any board member, Rick, Linda, Mary, Kim, and get those back to us quickly. I've gotten 30 responses, 31, which is amazing. And nobody said they didn't want to do anything. They all volunteered to do something, so that's positive. Second, well, great minds think alike. Kim handed this to me, and I already had my notes prepared. And I'll tell you what, if this happens again, where I got to recognize Vic Helbert 2 weeks in a row. So some of you may know Vic celebrated his 45th year last week, 45th year of consecutive weekly attendance at Rotary, which is mind-blowing. Well, then his wife puts in the paper a little doodad about this Friday afternoon, right, Vic? You want to come to Hellberg's, and I'm guessing there's wine and beer there too. Could be. And food. The food is always good at Hellberg's. But Vic is celebrating his 50th year in business, which is amazing. But what's even more amazing, it's the 4th generation. And so I did a quick survey of my own. Third generation business, 13% of all businesses make it to the third generation. Only 3% of all businesses make it to the fourth generation, according to Business Week, and a poll done about 2010. So that is remarkable, and I think we should give him a warm Rotary standing ovation for 50 years. Any other announcements? Kim?
This just in off of Zoom. Bob Moore wants everybody to know that Live After 5 is this Friday, and the group is the Awful Purdies. Yep. And you're going to do the presentation.
Did I? I did. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I made the first mistake in my presidency. By the way, never go home or go to your wife or to your staff and say, you now refer to me as Mr. President. It doesn't go over real well. I tried that last week. Didn't work. Well, I'm going to finish up with announcements. Any other announcements? We've got a check presentation. Mary, you're in charge now.
Hopefully you remember that earlier this year, we were challenged to come up with $5,000 as a club to sponsor a mural on 13th Street in the 13th Street district to be painted on the building overlooking the parking lot. It'll be on the south side of that parking lot. Your board approved up to $2,500 if you were willing to match it. And we had some great folks who stepped up to be the lead donors and got $1,500 that way. And the last 1,000 was raised from individuals, members of the club. So I'm here to report we have raised over $5,000. That mural will have the Rotary insignia on it. And so we expect you to put that on your tour itinerary every time you bring family and friends to town. But we're excited to get that off the ground. And Amber Danielson is here, representing the Arts and Culture Alliance from Marshall County, to accept our big check. So thank you, Amber. I know you will be getting us to work. Amanda Akola and I will be representing the club on the selection committee. Anything you want to say? Okay, this is congratulations to you, all of you.
I'll just say thank you. We really appreciate your support, and we're excited to see murals around our community popping up, the vibrancy and the tourism aspect and community pride. So be on the lookout. We hope to accomplish it here this fall before winter hits. So thank you.
Mr. Todd, with the news.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I will say, in the next couple of weeks or so, you may be approached to help fill in for news, as there's some days that I'm not around. So there's someone that might be, to help fill in on the news. So if you are interested, let us know. Otherwise, come and out soon. Also, for anyone who lives in town here, since we live outside of town, I have leftover fireworks. And I know Lieutenant Sadie and Mike Tupper have been not had anything to do lately. So I will give you our leftover fireworks so you can launch them off in town. So you guys have something to do. Yeah. So I know you guys got no calls, didn't have to worry about fireworks. News-wise, a large and impressive fireworks display brought a large crowd to the Central Iowa Fairgrounds here in Marshalltown on Sunday night. Marshalltown City Council members Gary Thompson and Mike Lottikoff, who helped fundraise for the show, said they were not expecting such a sizable audience at the fairgrounds. But with the parking lot filling up more than they had seen in years, food trucks had their hands full with long lines beginning 4 p.m. through 9:30 p.m. when the show began, and some vendors even running out of food. The show lasted about 30 minutes and ended with a warm reception from the crowd. Last Friday's evenings, in fact, Bob, I had this in the news, Live After 5, the outdoor concert season, kicked off in the parking lot at the Northfield Theater. Great kickoff, which is going to see live music through the 13th. And again, the Live After 5 series continues with the Awful Birdies Friday evening in the Orpheum parking lot. Altoona police have identified the victim in an incident at Adventureland's Raging River Ride. 11-year-old Michael Germello died from injuries he suffered after a raging river raft carrying 6 people returned. One other child did suffer critical injuries, with others sustaining minor injuries. Park says the ride had been inspected the day before the accident and was found to be in good working order. Adventureland says the Raging River is closed while the accident is being investigated. The Iowa DNR putting bird watchers statewide on alert to be vigilant for anything unusual they may spot with the help of songbirds. There's a sharp uptick in reports of sick or dead songbirds being found in the mid-Atlantic states, with reports as far west as Indiana. Reports have been coming in of these birds that have either swollen or crusty eyes and neurological signs like twitching or what people might consider seizures. Now, good news, as of yet, there are no reports of such activity. Something that is in Iowa this year is ticks, which may be carrying Lyme disease. Epidemiologist Rebecca Osborne said Iowans will be wise to check for ticks after spending any amount of time outdoors. There's sign-up sheets on your guys' tables to sign up and check for Tom McCoy for ticks. If anyone wants to check for those, they're signing up. Iowa ranked 17th among the 50 states for reported cases of Lyme disease, and Osborne said we should all take precautions. When we're talking about Lyme disease, somewhere between 20 and 50% of all ticks will be carrying that bacteria that causes Lyme disease. Finally, we all heard that Vic, congratulations on the big anniversary. That we're celebrating 50 years, and let's see, started on July 9th, 1971, right? It was discharged rather from the Navy on July 7th, 1971. So you had a day off in between before you started. So anybody who follows Vic on Facebook will see some of his puns from time to time. So I brought some of them today. This is our joke for today. Vic. I don't know where you get these, Vic, but here are some. My friend's son is suddenly finding electrical cords. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Well, there it goes. Let's try that again. I'll back up a little bit. My friend's son is suddenly finding electrical cords. I told him to ground him until he conducts himself properly. I have an addiction to cheddar cheese, although it's only mild. Mild and cheddar. Need an arc? I know a guy. I got a new pair of gloves today, but they're both lefts, which on one hand is great, but on the other hand is just not right. Right? Would anyone like a pack of dead batteries? They are free of charge. 2 more. Don't be worried about your smartphone or TV spying on you. Your vacuum has been gathering dirt on you for years. And finally, from the mind of Vic Albert, my friend used to date a girl with one leg who worked at a brewery. She was in charge of the hops.
That will be the last time Todd does the news. Until next week. I think Mary mentioned this in her comments last week, but Todd is a new board member. We may revoke that membership. If he, but Aaron McGregor is also a new board member. She's usually here. So those are our 2 new board members. I just wanted to kind of point that out. And if anybody wants to have me revoke Todd, let me know. Next up is Chief Tupper. You're in charge. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, everybody. So Tom said that Jay won't call him president. Just to make you feel better, Sarah won't call me chief either. Now, I will not share with everybody what she actually calls me because it's not Mike. So I have the great honor to introduce the program today. So Access is our program. Annie Randolph, the new development coordinator, is going to talk to you about their program. Access stands for Assault Care Center Extending Shelter and Support. And so, long story short, they provide domestic violence, sexual assault advocacy services for 5 counties, I think it is now, and Marshall County being one of those. So I first became acquainted with Access when I became the police chief in Nevada about 17 years ago. And I just want you to know that they do fabulous work, and it's important work. If you're looking for a cause to support, this is the cause. Domestic violence and sexual assault is an epidemic problem in this country, and we in Marshalltown and Marshall County are not immune. In fact, I have a detective that spends primarily 100% of her time working on domestic violence, sexual assault cases. The county attorney's office is so backlogged with cases, they have 2 people prosecuting these cases. This is an issue that impacts all corners of our community, regardless of demographics. And having grown up in a household full of domestic violence, I can tell you how important their services are. So, having said that, I welcome Annie Randolph to the microphone, and she will tell you about what she's doing and how you can support her in accessing an important mission. So, welcome, Annie.
Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing? I'm Annie Randolph. Like Mike said, I'm the development coordinator for Access. This is my 3rd month in this role. I previously worked for Access back in 2012, right out of college, right after I finished my degree at Iowa State University. I was started as a volunteer and then an intern, and then became full-time staff, like many individuals do who are an intern there. Once they see that they found somebody who is really dedicated to the cause, they really grab them and don't let them go. And so I was excited to be a part of Access for my first real job after college. I learned a lot in my time. I didn't have any sort of personal relationship to Access before I started, but I did have domestic violence in my family. My mom is a survivor, and so it was a very near and dear cause to my heart, so I was excited to be a part of it. So anyways, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm here today, which is to talk about what Access does. I could go into a long spiel about statistics, what our services are, but first I want to start off with a story. So in my time when I was the domestic violence services coordinator back in 2012, there was a woman I was working with who had children. And I was very green right out of college. I felt like I was a fish out of water, didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was that I wanted to help people. And so her and her children really needed some help accessing just information about what was out there, what was available to stay safe. She wanted information on not just legal services, but just help for her and her children. She did end up going down the route of wanting to explore what legal services were available, what was available through the court system. And so as her advocate, that was my job, to help her understand what that looks like and what to expect when we go down that path. And so I've been working with her for, 6 to 9 months. And then she decided that she wanted to apply for a protective order. So if anybody isn't familiar, I'm sure Mike and Sarah can give you, and Sadie can give you all the information on that as well. But basically you're applying to have a protective order in place, which would be a legal document stating that your abuser cannot contact you in any way. So a lot of people go down that route looking for protection that way, and she wanted to. And so I helped her understand what the steps are to do that, what it would look like, what to expect. And so she said, yep, I want to do that. And so we went to the courthouse and she filed for a protective order. And then once you file, then you're given notice for a hearing that will be in a couple of weeks where you can show up. And then the other side can show up as well. So her ex-husband would know about the hearing, so he could be there as well. So throughout the time that we were waiting for this hearing, I let her know that one of the things you can do is to document the incidents that happen, that have happened over the course of your relationship. And so I let her know that because going through stress and trauma that she is going through, oftentimes your memory is something that just doesn't stick around. You know, when we're going through stress, it's hard to remember all the different details and times and dates that things happen and how that made you feel. So I encouraged her just to write that all down into a log. And so when we got to the hearing, we walk in and her and I sit on the right side, on the table on the right side, and then he walks in and he's over on the left side. And so I'm placed kind of between the two of them, which was strategic. Her and I talked about me sitting in the middle of them so that when she was there at that hearing, he wouldn't have direct eye line access to her. So I said, you know, that's fine. I'll sit there to help her feel a little bit more as safe as she possibly could feel in that moment, being in the same room with him. So we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden I see her pull up this really, she had this bag, and she had this huge binder, like this thick. And I asked her what that was, and she said, Amy, this is my log. And I was just completely blown away. I had only been working with individuals who had suffered domestic violence for like 6 to 7 months. And at that time, so I didn't have a ton of experience, but that was different than I had experienced of any other client so far to that point who had that large of a paper trail. And so I remember just sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, like that is a lot of incidents. That's all her paperwork. That's all the times that she's tried to get protective orders in the past. And it was just a lot. And I remember sitting there thinking like, wow, like I have no idea what I'm doing. But I just want to help her in this moment. But it was very eye-opening to me what she had gone through. And I didn't even know everything. But during the hearing, she just got up there and she reminded me of a lawyer. Like she just looked so poised and ready to stand up for herself. And I was honestly like completely in awe of her. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, people go through this every day. And I apologize. It's hard for me to think of that story without getting choked up. But I just remember thinking, this is what I want to do. I want to help people who are going through this, and I want to help support them through it. And when we were done with that hearing, she looked at me and she said, Amy, I couldn't have done that without you. And I thought to myself, like, I didn't even do anything. Like, I didn't feel like I did anything. I felt like it was all her. She was the brave one. And she said, nope. And all those times you answered my phone call when I needed support, figuring out what it is I'm going to do, you listened to me. All those times when I had to send my children with him because that was our arrangement, and you helped me figure out safety planning. She's like, Amy, you helped me through that. And she said, when you walked me into the courtroom and you filled out that protective order, and you helped me understand just the basics of what I needed to know and what to expect, she said, I wouldn't have been able to do that without you. And she said, when you sat there in between him and I at the hearing, she said, I felt like I had the courage to be able to stand up against him and to stand up for myself. And so I just share that story because those are the kind of moments that advocates have every day with individuals who have, that we're helping. And our advocacy isn't always the grandiose moments. It's a lot of times those smaller, quieter moments where we're just sitting in between them and the abuser, trying to make sure that they feel as supported as possible. So we do those things every single day. And like Mike said, domestic and sexual violence are in every corner of every county, of every state, and it affects everybody. And I'm sure if we were to take a survey today, I'm sure most of you know somebody who has been affected by domestic or sexual violence of some kind, whether or not that be somebody you know or whether it be yourself. So that's what we do at Access. We help individuals who are going through those types of situations know that they're not alone. We recognize that this is their journey and we are just walking alongside them, helping them figure out what it is they need to know and to expect through this process. But most importantly, we're on their side when a lot of times people aren't. So we're constantly supporting them through all of those things. The basic parts of our services is that we have a 24-hour crisis line that anybody can call if they've ever been assaulted or if they've been sexually assaulted. We will respond to them in person. Our services look just a little bit different right now because of COVID and meeting people in person, but we are in a transition phase where we are starting to figure out how we're going to do those responses in person again. We realize that meeting people in person is honestly what they need to help get through those hard moments. And we have shelter services, so if anybody is in need of safe shelter, so if they're fleeing a domestic violence situation or they just need a safe place to stay, we do have shelter that we can offer to them. So we have a scattered site model, which means that we used to have a large building, which was a shelter building where individuals who needed shelter lived in the same space that we had for our offices. So we all kind of were together all day long. And that created and posed its own barriers for people accessing services in a confidential way. So we did end up switching to a model where now we have apartments throughout the different 5 counties that we serve. So, and we have an apartment here in Marshalltown. So if there's anybody that needs shelter, they can utilize our apartments that are confidential. We have agreements with the landlords to have that arrangement, so that works out really well. And then we do serve individuals who have been affected by violent crime or homicide, and supporting the families and the survivors who have gone through that as well. So we are there to help them figure out what's the next step and how to get there. All of our services are confidential, free of charge. So those are the basics of our services. If there's anything that I'm missing, you jump in, Tara, let me know. But being that COVID happened, I don't know if anybody was watching or staying in tune with kind of how that was affecting individuals who are experiencing domestic and sexual violence, but people in general just weren't calling for help as often as they may have, thinking that if I call for help, that means I have to go somewhere, and we're all staying home, trying to stay safe. So that further increased the isolation that individuals of domestic violence were already experiencing. So we did notice that there was a dip in our calls for help and for service. But as individuals, or as the world is opening back up, people are calling again, and they're calling and talking to us about things that happened 6, 9, 12 months ago, during the time when everybody was staying at home. So we are in the midst of working with individuals who have now incidents that have happened a long time ago, or up to a year ago or more. So if you're looking for an organization to support, like Mike said, this is a great organization to support. We help individuals every day from Marshall County and help them figure out what the next steps are and what's available to stay safe. So if you're interested in supporting, I would highly recommend that you do so. I'm also the development coordinator, so it's my job to talk about donations. But so the different ways that you can donate to Access. There's a variety of different ways. A lot of people will give like in-kind donations, which are like things to us that'll help, that we can give to our clients to help them kind of get back on to a safe place, whether that be like body products or hair products or just basic needs throughout the day, cleaning supplies or whatever somebody might be in need of when they're establishing like a new place to live or if they're coming into shelter. We are always in need of those things, but we are also in need of gas cards, phone cards, to help individuals have that flexibility and help with financial assistance to get to different appointments or to get to our place for counseling or get to court for things that they might need to get to. But honestly, the thing that helps out the most are monetary donations. That helps us meet the unique needs that survivors have. So not every survivor story is the same, and the needs that they have can be very different from the next. So if someone is trying to flee a situation and they're having to leave, let's say, an apartment with their abuser, and then they're needing to find a new place to live, they might need help with rent assistance and all the fees that it takes to get into that new place. So monetary donations do help us fill a gap right there to help people get to a safe place if they're needing that. So if you're interested in donating and supporting Access, I would highly encourage you to do so. If you have any questions for me about how to do that, the different ways to do that, please feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to talk with anybody about that. But otherwise, just thank you for your time and thank you for, I know you guys have supported Access in the past. I know that we have been here before talking to you about what we do as well. So thank you for just giving us the time to talk to you today and let me know if I have any questions. So thank you. It's a local organization. So those are all great questions, so thank you for asking. So we do serve Marshalltown, Story, Boone, and Greene counties. And so we are our local organization. And if you are wanting to drop off donations to us, call ahead if you have the availability to call us ahead, just let us know what you're bringing. We don't have a huge capacity for storage for different things. So, but we do have enough room for the basic supplies that we can give to somebody who's coming into shelter. But if it's like clothing or other things that we may not have room for, we do have a partnership with a local thrift store names called Overflow. So we would encourage you to donate there, and then our clients go there and they have vouchers to get things for free there. So they basically store all of our donations there for things that we don't have capacity for. But our location in Ames is 1525 Airport Road, Suite 101. So if you're wanting to donate, you could drop off there, or you could always drop off to our Marshalltown office as well. So that's 16 East Main here in Marshalltown. So that one will definitely need to just set up a time to meet you for that office. So if you guys are interested in donating stuff to our cause, that's how you could do it. There was another question you had. How many staff? So we've grown exponentially in the past 10 years that I've been working there. So now we have over 20 staff. Whereas before, when I worked there when I left in 2014, we had like 10 or 11. So we doubled in size. And a lot of that is that we have very specific roles for our advocates now. We have like a sexual abuse rural advocate. We have a sexual abuse Iowa State campus advocate. Like we have very specific roles now for our advocates, whereas before we used to just have domestic violence advocates and sexual abuse advocates. And now we also have a homicide and violent crime program as well. So we have another advocate for that as well. So they work throughout all 5 counties that we have. Yep.
So this might be a question for Sandy. For ongoing abuse situations, what's the biggest barrier to people trying to get out of this situation? A lot of barriers. A lot of times it's just like they have to do love that person, children. They have their financial reasons. They're afraid harmful time that person can die of crime. Being afraid, and religious things. A lot of reactions.
You want to repeat this?
Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons why somebody may or may not want to leave. Like Cindy was saying, research shows that leaving can be the most dangerous time, highest incidence rate for injury and violence, if not death. And so leaving, they know that, and they know that can be a scary time, so that alone can keep them from leaving. Their children, financial abilities. Oftentimes when someone is in a domestic violence situation, a lot of things are used against them to help keep them isolated, to help keep them from accessing help from the outside world, from their friends and family. And so any area that an abuser can find to control that person and to keep them from accessing help and getting support, they typically will do that. And so it leaves the person or the victim with really no means of getting help from anybody. So, and like Cindy said, they oftentimes are in a cycle of love and fear. And so, although they fear the person, they also love them. And so that becomes a really big problem in their own mind, just to wrap their head around leaving someone that they love. And oftentimes there's things like substance abuse. So oftentimes the abuser will introduce substances to the victim to get them hooked on them, and then therefore feel reliant upon the abuser for those drugs, and then therefore continuing the cycle of why you have to be dependent on me for all of your needs, so you can't leave me. So there's a bunch of different reasons why somebody would feel like they can't leave. Those are just some of them, but they're all really specific to the victim.
And it can also be you're doing something illegal. So if I go down here.
Right, I'll take you down with me.
Go to.
Correct. So. We help a month. That's a really great question. I think we help, you guys know specific statistics?
I know that in a non-COVID year, Access had over 7,000 hours.
Yeah.
To service people in all 5 counties. So we know that those numbers have grown every year, and I would echo that. A lot of us were safe at home. Many people were not. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing this prolonged violence and isolation. And I don't believe Cindy and I had a board meeting last week, and there has been a sexual assault response call out every single day of the last month.
Yeah, and we're starting to see people reaching back out for help again, where they might not have during the COVID time. And our advocates have been very busy lately responding to different assaults at the hospitals and things like that. So things are picking back up, which, as an advocate is great. I'm glad people are calling us, but it hasn't stopped and it won't stop. So we just continue to need support to be able to do the things that we do. Any other questions? If not, well, thank you guys very much for having us talk to you today.
Thank you very, very much. Any other questions? Well, this concludes our meeting with a couple of things. Next week, Dan Moores will come and talk to us about the Chamber Retail Incentive Plan. Did I say that right? Okay. Well, if you'd stand with me and we'll say the four-way test. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build well on better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You're adjourned.